disciples, they were sleeping. Then God, seeing the danger of his servant, commanded Jibril, Gabriel, Michael, Michael, Raphael, and Uriel, and his ministers, Uriel is Israfil, and the other one is Michael, to take Jesus out of the world. The holy angels came and took Jesus out by the window. He's seeing it. Took Jesus out by the window that looked towards the south. They bare him and placed him in the third heaven in the company of angels, blessing God forevermore. Judas entered impetuously before all into the chamber whence Jesus had been taken up. Jesus has already been taken up. Judas enters that room now, because the people are coming, soldiers are coming, Judas is showing them. And the disciples were sleeping, whereupon the wonderful God acted wonderfully, in so much that Judas was so changed in speech and in face to be like Jesus, he looked like Jesus, that we believed him to be Jesus. Even, he says, even we believed him to be, it was so much that, and he, having awakened us, was seeking where the master was. Whereupon we marveled and answered, Thou, Lord, art our master. Hast thou now forgotten us? He is asking, where is master? He was asking. Judas was asking, where is master? And he smiling said, Now are you foolish, that know not me to be Judas? And as he was saying this, the soldiery entered and laid their hands upon Judas, because he was in every way like to Jesus. We, having heard Judas saying and seeing the multitude of soldiers, fled as besides ourselves. And John, who was wrapped in a... Oh man, that's different. And the soldiers took Judas and bound him, not without derision, for he truthfully denied that he was Jesus. He said, I'm not Jesus. And the soldiers, mocking him, said, Sir, fear not, for we are come to make thee king of Israel. And they were joking with him. And we have bound thee because we know that thou dost refuse the kingdom. Judas answered, Now have you lost your senses? You have come to take Jesus of Nazareth with arms and lanterns as against robbers, and ye have bound me that have guided you to make me king. Then the soldiers lost their patience, and with blows and kicks they began to flout Judas, and they led him with fury into Jerusalem. John and Peter followed the soldiers afar off, and they affirmed to him who writeth, that means the writer, affirmed him to me, that means that they saw all the examination that was made of Judas by the high priest and by the council of the Pharisees, who were assembled to put Jesus to death. Whereupon Judas spake many words of madness, in which a long story, and Judas answered, I have told you that I am Judas, etc., etc. So they are believing, he is writing that it's very, very interesting and very long, but I'm not going to go through all this. That Judah, who was one of the disciples, his shape was changed to the shape of, our Quran says, Shubbiha lahu. It appeared to them, but doesn't say how. He is writing this, and this is written much before the Quran. He is writing this, and he says Judah became like Jesus, and they thought that was Jesus, and they took him and they crucified him. They killed him. They took him, and they did not take Jesus. Jesus was taken up by the angels. He even names the angels who came, and he said these were the angels who came, and they took him up. So that is the story of today's weekend, the Easter weekend. All right? This is, you had a question. What was it?
Then what's the point of the rabbit?
What is the what?
What's the point of the rabbit?
The rabbit.
Like
Easter bunny. The Easter bunny.
Oh, oh, yeah. What's the story of the eggs? I don't know why they have eggs on Easter. I'll have to look it up. Good question. I'll have to look it up. You'll have to ask some Christian that question. I was only interested in what's the story about Jesus. I'm sure there is something about it. Yes.
What is the view of Barnabas as it relates to Isa alayhi salam being the messenger of God as opposed to being
Yes.
the son of God?
Yeah, he says, you read this book, he says what he says. I just read to you that he said, I'm the servant of God. Isa says, I'm the servant of God. Yeah. And he even mentions Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Barnabas, by name. He says that Jesus answered somewhere, believe me, Barnabas, Jesus is talking to Barnabas. Believe me, Barnabas, that every sin, however small it be, God punishes with great punishment. Wherefore, since my mother and my faithful disciples that were with me loved me a little with earthly love, the righteous God hath willed to punish this love with the present grief, in order that it may not be punished in the flames of hell. You know, Barnabas is saying, why? Why did God make us grieve so much? Because we thought that you were being killed, and he says that this Allah saved you from hell, so he gave you some grief here. I have been innocent in the world, Jesus is saying. I have been innocent in the world, since men have called me God and Son of God. God, in order that I be not mocked of the demons on the day of judgment, hath willed that I be mocked of men in this world by the death of Judas, making all men to believe that I died upon the cross. And this mocking shall continue until the advent of Muhammad, the messenger of God, who, when he shall come, shall reveal this deception to those who believe in God's law. So he says that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam will come and he will clear the misunderstanding that I am neither Son of God nor God. Yes.
What is the Christian sect that believes in the gospel of Barnabas?
At the moment, none.
None.
At the moment, they call it apocrypha. Apocrypha. Apocrypha means?
Untrue.
Huh?
Untrue.
What?
It means false.
False, yes. That's what they call this. They call this apocrypha. And they have tried their best. If you want to know about the history of this book, this is so interesting. You have to read Mullah Maududi's Tafhim al-Quran. He gives you perfectly this beautiful history of this book. How this book was removed from the world completely. And then how it was found. The Pope became ill. And somebody went to visit him. And then Pope was semi-conscious, and he found the Gospel of Bible in his, this Gospel of Barnabas in his library, and he stole it from there and made a copy. And then when it was printed, all the print, everything went out, gone completely. They had removed it. But anyway, it's there. You cannot remove it now. Yes, sister.
So I have two questions. Number one, you have quoted from Quran the Jesus, what surah it is and what ayat?
The surah I just read was Surah An-Nisa, and ayah number...
Of Jesus?
Pardon?
Surah Nisa gives the reference of Jesus?
Yes. The one I just now read, Jesus is mentioned in 25 places in the Quran. Not one place, 25 places. But the one I just now read is the fourth surah, Surah An-Nisa, and the verses are 156, 157, 158. Right.
Another question about angels. You mentioned that they obey to God. Does that mean they have a willpower?
No, they don't have.
They don't have a willpower.
No. They don't have a
So
choice.
they're like animals?
No. They have intelligence. They have intelligence. They are intelligent beings. Animals are not. They have intelligence. They don't have willpower to decide yes or no. They don't have. Whatever God tells them, they follow that. And they understand why they are doing it. They don't do it blindly. They understand why they are doing it, but they cannot say no. They do not have that in them to say no.
Thank you.
Yes.
So before Isa alayhi salam came to earth, there was Christianity, right?
No.
No.
No. Oh, never mind.
There was Judaism
Oh.
before that.
Was Islam, but we say it's Islam. It was never Judaism.
Pardon?
We say it's Islam because
Yes. It's all the religion
because
started.
Islam preaches the unity
Right.
of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Please give the
And
mic.
The initial.
Wait, one minute. You must. Everybody
What I
must.
started to say is that Islam is the perfection of the initial monotheistic religion, which began with Ibrahim alayhi salam, and through his progeny was spread throughout the world.